All right, hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. This is a very special after show plus 200 subscribers party. Jordan, aka Reason's Jail, just had a great debate with Professor David McQueen over on Staying for Drew's channel. So hop on in and come on back. Jordan should be here soon. The link to join is in the sidebar chat. I have right now Nephilim Free. Um, Welcome to my channel, and thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks, David. Hope you're doing well this evening.
I am doing just fine. Again, the link to join is in the sidebar chat. Neff, what did you think of the debates?
I only caught the last 40 minutes of it or so. I was out running errands and things and got home late, so I only saw part of it, say 35, 40 minutes of it maybe. But it just seems to me that from what I saw, that Jordan did what he seems to always do, and that is harp on and on and on about radioactivity, because I think he has this, like many uniformitarianists, he has this belief that dating methods and radioactivity somehow is the game ender for young Earth creationism. I mean, it couldn't possibly be more wrong about that.
All right. Yeah, I thought it was a really good debate. Pretty cordial overall. I'm not really going to give my opinion on who I think won or lost. But I think overall, both debaters did pretty well. I, of course, remain very much unconvinced and uncompelled by Professor McQueen's arguments. I don't think he fully understood, he didn't really give a satisfactory answer to the heat problem. So let's see here in the sidebar chat. Hello, Honesty Angel, Carrie, and Itzhak Hunt. Welcome, Itzhak, and thank you guys so much for joining the after show.
Well, you know, David, one of the reasons that you've heard people hear me say that creationists provide evidence to evolutionists, they don't seriously consider the evidence. They just dismiss it in their mind and go right on clinging to uniformitarianism and stuff. And I think the background picture you're using for this live stream is a perfect example of that. If you notice that the tops of these mountains right here are extremely sharp and pointy and edgy and craggy. They got lots of little extremely fine points on them. You know, David, I just got to tell you straight up, there's no way those mountains are 1,000,000 years old. They couldn't even be 50,000 years old. They would have eroded round. And so you're showing a picture in the background that refutes everything you believe about uniformitarianism, and you don't give it a second thought. I mean, can you tell me why we should believe those hills in the background there are 5 or 10, 20 million years old, and yet they're sharp and craggy? Don't you think that when geologists measure how much material is eroding from the continents into the oceans every year, don't you believe that it would be impossible to have these kinds of edgy rocks, sharp and pointy like this, over 20 million years, that erosion would have rounded that material down? How do you account for such erosion rates and then the mountains be so pointy and edgy and craggy? How do you how do you work that out?
Well, first of all, this image, I'm not sure if this is actually a real mountain or not, or I actually got this from Canva, just putting
Well,
in.
there's lots of mountains that look just like that.
So I don't know exactly if this is real. I don't know where it's at or the geological history of that area. But as I said before in our debates, I'm a biology major and not a geology major.
Well, so then that means then geology doesn't matter. You can just dismiss it. It's not important. It doesn't make a difference. Can we just dismiss any field that we don't specifically study as evidence? Is that the way that works?
Well, of course not. It's, what I'm saying is basically I do not know enough about geology to be able to properly comment on that because I'm a biology major and not a geology major.
Well, haven't you heard this from creationists before, like many times? And if
Well,
so, haven't you thought, well, if maybe I should investigate this and find out what validity there is to this argument? You haven't even investigated, you haven't looked into it.
um,
Creationists are telling you this completely refutes uniformitarianism all by itself, and you don't have enough interest in it to look into it and see, maybe they're right.
for one thing, I'm more focused on my biology stuff than the geology stuff. But more importantly than that, geology just bores me to tears. Um, Jorge, hey, Jorge. Um,
So, one of the most important fields related to the millions of years you believe in and all the time necessary for evolution is so boring to you that you just don't want to even investigate all the dozens upon dozens of arguments the creationists give and how critical they must be to the subject of millions of years. I mean, I've heard you talk many times about millions of years old this and this is millions of years old and stuff, and yet you're just dismissing geology, which is where we get the millions of years.
um, Again, I'm not dismissing it, but hold on a sec. Hey, Jordan, welcome.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, Jordan.
Hey,
Hello.
Jordan. Jordan, feel free to introduce yourself to the channel. I know you've been here many times, and give your overall thoughts on the debate. And Jorge is here. Welcome, Jorge. I just wanted to give. Sorry, Neff. I'll get back to you in just a minute, but I do want to give Jordan some time since it was his debate to introduce himself and give him his thoughts on his debates.
Of course.
Sure. So, yeah, thanks for having the after party. It's always fun over here, and debating on SFT's channel is always a blast. In case you haven't seen me before, didn't see the debate, my name's Jordan. I'm a nuclear engineer, and today's debate was on whether or not accelerated decay had ever happened. So basically, it's a common thing in creationist circles that the nuclear decay we see happened super fast in the past. And the debate was whether or not the evidence supports that. I thought the debate went well. It was a lot of fun. I think that basically the central objection for me is the implications of accelerating the decay, right? And so what McQueen kept going back to is, well, Methuselah lived for however many years, so definitely the heat was gone, or we have these halos, so that means the heat was gone. But I think that's not a good way to examine evidence. The better way is say, okay, here's my model. What are the implications of that model? If the implication of your model is that the Earth would be vaporized several times over, your model's probably wrong. So,
Yeah, from what I'm gathering is basically Jordan, you're on. I don't know. It was just me, or if you're on mute. I think. Can anyone else hear Jordan?
can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
hear you now.
I can hear you now.
Okay. Did I just talk on mute the whole time, or did you actually hear that?
I did not hear
No,
anything.
I heard you
Jordan.
talking about
Okay,
it,
good,
Jordan.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the last thing I heard you say was, if your model has the Earth being vaporized many times over, your model is probably wrong.
Yeah, that was the last thing I said.
Okay, cool. So yeah, what I'm gathering is pretty much your entire argument based on, okay, there's these halos, therefore accelerated nuclear decay, therefore what exactly?
Which, and
That's
credit where it's due, he gave the answer which I think should be given more in debates and is very rarely given, which was I don't know.
yeah,
Which is fair. I mean,
Very topical.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I've admitted many times in debates with Standing for Truth and others that I simply do not know. Um, I think it's a strong point to be willing to admit stuff that you don't know.
Yeah.
It's definitely much more reasonable than spouting off bunch of nonsense that you don't understand.
yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'll give him props for that.
Yep.
He also did something that I routinely expect and very rarely see, which he essentially appealed to magic, which within the context of his worldview is consistent because he believes in an omnipotent being who wants to bring about his will and has the ability to do literally anything he wants. So it is both surprising and not that more creationists don't simply invoke magic. It's not surprising because they have what I think is a laudable drive to want to follow the evidence and be try to use the scientific method, and that's all good stuff. But I don't know. I mean, if you have an infinite magic space wizard, let him wave the wand a little bit.
Yeah. So basically, the thing here is that only one side showed math, or actually was able to explain it. So, yeah. Anyway, Orge, feel free to give your thoughts.
Yeah, I sadly wasn't able to watch the debate. I just got logged on. But Jordan, and it was against McQueen, was it? Or McKay? What's his last name?
Yeah, McQueen.
McQueen, yeah. I've seen interviews with him. He seems like a decent enough dude. So, yeah, I'm here for more for the conversation. But Jordan, I'm sure you did fantastic as usual.
Well, if you want to see some math, I got you, buddy.
Yep.
I do like math. It's true.
Yep. I love myself some math, especially when you're refuting other creationism. Gotta get them by the math.
What about that math relating to the number of tons of sediments that go into the oceans every year, David?
We can handle that in a bit, Neff. We can handle that in a bit.
Yep. But
you can handle it? I don't know. How are you going to do that?
Yeah, Danny, welcome.
Oh, good morning. How are you?
Hello.
Morning. Where are you, Danny?
I just woke up.
Oh, fun.
Living that bachelor life.
I'm not even.
Nocturnal lifestyle much, Danny?
No, I just took a nap. I had work.
Okay. Naps are cool.
I have to teach during the day.
Can't criticize a nap, man. Naps are sacred.
Yeah,
I'm right there with you.
I love myself a good nap. Part of my problem is I always take naps like I say I'm going to sleep for an hour and end up sleeping for 4 hours.
Yeah, I have to wake up at 6 and then I get home like at 3 to 4:30 or something like that. And so I take a nap.
So Jordan, if you don't mind me asking, did catch me up? Did McQueen bring anything new or interesting to the conversation, in your opinion, or was it kind of regurgitation of the same talking points?
I think if you listen to the thing he did on SFT's channel with George about radio halos and how they relate to accelerated decay, you'd catch the vast majority of his argument. That was pretty much the crux of his argument, was that these halos exist because the halos vary in size. He says accelerated decay had to have happened, and since it had to, basically at that point you accept it as a rock solid fact, and it doesn't matter what implications that has, something must have fixed them. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I could. There's nothing he said that I hadn't heard him say before.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was. It did take me a while to read the book that he quotes Gentry, his book, which I had to find a pirated copy somewhere so I could read it, because he says I'm misreading it, and it's possible I have, but I've read it several times, and I'm pretty sure that what Gentry's saying is not what McQueen is saying. I think they're saying two different things, which is fine. It's just that McQueen is constantly pointing to Gentry's book as his justification. He'll say that according to Gentry, the halos change size. Well, Gentry says specifically, repeatedly, that they don't change size. This entire argument depends on it. Well, according to Gentry, the half-life changed, because of this constant. Well, he says specifically that it did. Well, according to Gentry, there were super heavy elements. He says there weren't. Like, I don't know.
And then you get into a conversation about who's reading the book correctly, and it's
I literally just put the book up on the screen. Like, here it is. For example, he said with the super heavy elements, he said that Gentry said that there aren't, and I was like, well, what about this part here? And he said, well, if you read it, he's saying that there are. And he said, it said, I literally read it. He says, I'm going to try to find the quote because it was very explicit. He said, I no longer think there is evidence to support super heavy elements. I don't know how more clear you could possibly get. You know.
Yeah. And I think there was one question about atomic elements decaying and why they're not going up. I think that shows just a fundamental misunderstanding of basic chemistry. Because, of course, the elements are defined by the number of protons in the nucleus. And
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Conceptually, I can understand why you might think, okay, there's this isotope that's changing. Why is it always decaying, right? Like, how come it can never go uphill? Conceptually, I understand how you could get there. But I think it shows the lack of understanding, which is understandable because it's a deep topic, nuclear physics, but a lack of understanding of what's causing this decay. And it's, I mean, you have to get deep into quantum field theory beyond what I even know if you want to really know why. But
Jordan, scientists, they understand a lot about what happens when decay occurs. But the truth be known, they don't actually know why matter decays. They know what happens when it does. Scientists don't really have an understanding as to why. That's the thing I would point out, you know.
I mean, I think there are quantum field equations that.
Well, I mean, they always try to answer things with massive mathematics on chalkboards.
Yeah,
but they haven't solved it. I mean, they don't know why.
Do you want them not to use math?
No, they don't. I'll say it again. Scientists don't have a thorough understanding of why matter decays. They understand pretty much what happens when it does because, they can test for that. That's testable, repeatable science. But the why is the thing they're not clear about.
What do you mean by
that's
why?
That's all I would point out. Well, what is it that causes matter to decay? We know what happens when it does. This particle is ejected, and that can cause a chain reaction, and then the number of electrons orbiting the nucleus can outweigh the forces that they understand that kind of thing. But I'm saying, what is the mechanism that makes it happen? Why is it happening instead of the matter being completely stable all the time?
Quantum instability and the fact that after the decay, it's in a lower energy state.
Okay, you say those terms, but I'm just telling you they don't know why.
I just told you why.
No, they don't know why.
Energy state.
I literally
just know why.
You keep saying they don't know why. Yeah, I literally just told you why.
No, they have theories about. They don't know why. Are you actually claiming on video? The scientists fully understand why matter decays?
So that quantum mechanics is not a completely enveloping theory. Okay. There are definitely gaps in it. For instance, we don't have an understanding of quantum gravity.
And they don't fully understand why matter decays either.
So I'm telling you what is causing radioactive decay to occur.
No, you're telling me what oh boy. See, this is where evolutionists grab an assumption and declare it scientific fact.
Neff, you are
that's not what the way the science really
point
works.
Here. Hey, Neff, let someone else
doesn't actually work.
You're not on your own channel. Quiet down a little bit.
So I think that the analogous situation would be if you said, well, why does a ball fall down when you let go? And I say, well, because of gravity. You say, well, but why? Well, gravity, I just told you. But why? Well, okay, general relativity, and here's the equations. But why? Like, I'm giving you answers. You may not like the answers, but that's analogous what you're saying.
Okay, I'll just leave it at this. Anybody can Google this matter if they want to, and what they will find are physicists who state flatly, we don't fully understand why matter decays. And then you come back later, tomorrow or something, and compare that with Jordan's statement and see which one is correct.
So you have to be careful.
I would encourage.
What you're saying. What you're saying is they don't fully understand.
And that modifier,
said? No, what you said is they do not.
I said thoroughly. That was the first statement that came out of my mouth.
Perhaps
scientists don't thoroughly understand why matter decays.
Perhaps I misheard you, but when you say they don't fully understand, that's very different from saying they don't understand, because the latter means they don't understand at all. I gave you an explanation. That doesn't mean there's not work to do. There's always more work to do. But
Okay, so
if you're
my
gonna,
statement was correct.
I disagree. But if
They do thoroughly understand why matter decays.
if you're going, so what you're asking for an
on.
inattainable standard. You're saying that
I'm not asking for anything.
You're
Hold
saying that
on,
until they understand something 100% with no uncertainty, they have no understanding, and that's just not reasonable.
Right, so
no, that's not what I'm saying at all. My statement was completely correct. I said they don't thoroughly understand why matter decays.
Can I get us off this circle real quick and ask a different question, please?
You're trying to
This is
wire it
going
as,
back
as
and
though
forth.
they do.
Well, it's just you're saying they don't understand. So basically, it's this weird amoeba thing. Like, we have a level of understanding of radioactive decay, so it's not like we're just completely in the dark, which is what you're trying to say.
No, what I've said was they understand what happens when it decays, why it's decaying. They don't understand.
There you go, and that's the statement that's wrong. Anyway, what's your question?
That's what everybody can find on Google.
All right, so now let me ask you a question. I'm not quite sure what you're getting at. So we don't fully understand why matter decays. Okay, therefore what?
I was just pointing out it's mysterious, that's all. There's mysteries that science hasn't solved.
So my question was, if we don't know why, but we still know how, and how shows know accelerated radioactive decay, why does the why matter? The how is still proving no accelerated radioactive decay.
That is an amazing point.
I just think that it supports the biblical statement that the things of God are beyond our searching. That's all I would say.
But this one isn't beyond our searching. That's exactly the point.
Because scientists don't thoroughly understand why matter decays.
So even if I don't know the why at all, even if I have no understanding of the why whatsoever, if I can use the equations that are in the nuclear engineering textbook right here in my bookcase, if I can use those equations to make accurate predictions of how the world works, then I can use that understanding that I have in order to make more predictions. So my predictions show that accelerated nuclear decay doesn't work. So your point of the why is immaterial.
No, it's not. It's just an observation. I didn't say that it had bearing on your argument. I think you're wrong about, everything. But I wasn't making a statement that this pertains directly to your argument about radioactive decay.
If your great insight is that scientists don't understand everything, then I'm never going to disagree with that. Didn't you have a question, Jorge? I feel like you had a question.
Hold on one second. Hey, Leophilius, how are you?
Howdy.
Hey, Leo.
How's it going?
Leo, how many subs have you gained since there?
I went from like 330 to 345, so 15.
Nice. Yeah, I have not watched that yet, but it's definitely on my playlist.
I did want to respond to one thing. Nephilim Free said scientists don't know why radioactive decay occurs. We actually do. It's an inherent stochastic process of electroweak interactions that occur in the atom between stability that is required by protons and neutrons due to the Dirac coupling constant.
No, that's part of what happens.
I didn't, sir, please don't overtalk me. I didn't finish what I was saying. This is an inherent result of the way that the quantum field theory works that describes what electroweak theory. That this has been confirmed to like the 18th to 20th decimal place. This is more accurately confirmed than general relativity, which describes gravity. So yeah, theoretical physicists, particle physicists know perfectly why radioactive decay happens. So to say that we don't understand it, that's just straightforwardly false.
Leo, you've done what you always do. You've grotesquely misrepresented science. What you've done is I like
the eyes there, Joel.
I will if you let me. What you did is you alluded that we understand this was what happens and that what happened, and see, we know what the things happen. Therefore, we understand why. And that was...
Yeah, I explained why.
No. You explain things that we understand about what happens when it does.
Yes, and they tell us that this happens because of this reason. Yeah, I explained why.
Well, they have a theory.
I mean, I understand that you don't
understand
accept it, but you haven't actually shown me where I misunderstood what electroweak theory says.
Okay.
And quite frankly, I don't think you would be capable of even defining.
It's okay. The internet has the information. That
Yes, it does. I encourage anyone who thinks that I may be wrong to go look for yourself. You'll see that I'm not.
Yeah, let's do that, please.
Oh, please go ahead.
I got a question for Neff. What is something that scientists do know the why to?
There's a lot that we don't know the why to, I guess.
Is there something that we do know the why to that would suffice for you?
Well, the why, I think so. I think there are some things. Why the universe exists, I think we know.
You think scientists know that?
We don't know how it came into being, but I think
is that a theology no or a scientist no? Sounds like a theology.
Let me clarify that. Science reveals, I think, why the universe exists, and because it requires a supernatural cause, and therefore.
But no scientist is going to posit a
now the mechanism as to how God did it when he, poofed it. Nobody can answer that.
God did it. Nothing indicates that anything.
I'm not presupposing. The philosophy of science verifies the universe had a supernatural.
No, it doesn't, because we haven't gone that far enough.
I walked into this.
That's not the question he asked.
So Leo, let me ask you a couple of questions, please.
Go right ahead.
If I'm right, okay? Isn't it true that according to the laws of physics, matter can neither be created nor destroyed by natural processes? Is that correct?
No, the first law of thermodynamics.
No,
matter cannot be created or destroyed. It says nothing about what processes can do.
Right, but the only potential cause we know.
The nomological fact: matter cannot be just created or destroyed. It doesn't matter what methods you think you can or cannot use. You will not destroy matter and energy according to that.
Oh, okay, great. So, Leo, my second question then is
straw man what the science says, but you're going to fail every time because you, Nephilim-free, do not have a single fucking understanding of anything that you're talking about.
So, Leo, is the only potential, let me just reveal how utterly mindlessly dumb what you just said is, okay?
Ooh, he's getting upset.
Is the only potential cause that exists in your mind for why anything happens a material one?
The universe wasn't brought into existence.
You won't answer that question.
From some previously non-existent state.
The reason scientists say that is because outside the physical,
the universe just
this is what happens when Leo gets, questioned about something. He just doesn't want to stop. Okay. So I was going to ask you a couple of questions. Okay. So it's true that matter can't be destroyed or created. Now, if you don't believe any supernatural causes exist, the only potential cause for some matter to be created or destroyed, the only thing that can, is everything we know about the physical world. So everything we know about the physical world can neither create nor destroy matter and energy, right? So my question was very simple. Matter can't be created or destroyed, and I put in parentheses by material processes because that's the only ones we know of as materialists, right? Sure. Okay.
Well, I'm not a materialist.
That's true. Okay, so wait, I was going to ask him a couple of questions. I only got one, and then he went off on this.
Can we cut to the chase? Like, what's the point you're making?
So the second one, since matter and energy can't be created or destroyed, and yet they do exist, and since the science demonstrates that all things have a cause. We don't know of anything that does not have a cause. There is no such thing known that doesn't have a cause. Okay.
Weak radioactive decay
when the atheists say that there are things that don't have a cause, they're actually
according to
because okay, guys, have a good evening. Yeah.
Copenhagen interpretation.
Okay, so you just heard atheists claim that there are things that don't have a cause.
No, I can keep talking as well. Would you like over other people so you can hear them?
Would you like me to explain why that's the case?
I'm just trying to make a couple of statements. I can't get them out of my mouth because the room must be rerun.
You're certainly rambling on. You went for like 4 or 5 minutes.
I'm just trying to ask 3 questions, and when you talk over me constantly, Leo, me trying to ask you something that takes 18 seconds takes 18 minutes because you won't shut up.
Like Darth accused me of, you're actually doing. You're being
interjecting while I'm asking a question.
You didn't. You weren't.
Can I ask my short series of questions?
Okay, yeah, you have
without
10
interruption,
because
that will take me 15 to 20 seconds instead of 15 minutes.
You can ask it. Ask the question.
All right. All right. So matter and energy can't be created or destroyed.
That's not a question.
So I asked you, isn't it true? And you said no, because I said material by material causes. But so we see how you played with science. So matter and energy can't be created or destroyed, right?
That's not a question.
Okay.
You still
Right.
have not asked a question
You
yet. It's
answered
been
that.
15 seconds.
Okay. Leo,
Are you going to ask a question? It's been 20 seconds and you haven't asked the question.
and it has a cause. So what is the potential
still not asking a
explanation
question.
for the origin of matter if it's not a material one?
Matter doesn't have an
Yeah.
origin.
Hold on.
There you go. Atheists denying science by claiming there are
When
things
did science
that
say
have
that matter
no
had to have an
origin.
origin? Like literally, the first law of thermodynamics
there-
says it can be created, but then you're saying
that
that science says that mass and matter have to be created. Like, dude, what
all
are you talking
things have
about?
a cause, Leo. That's science.
Not
man.
according to the first law of thermodynamics, which says
it's
that
the
mass and
basis for
energy
the
don't have a cause
scientific
because they
method.
can't.
That's all right. I've done my damage. I just proved the atheists have to deny the very foundation of science in order to hold the materialism. I have to go because it's 8:13. I should have been in bed 30 minutes ago. I get up at 4.
Good night, Neff.
All right,
You
good
guys
night.
have a good one, guys.
Thanks for stopping by, Neff.
So I didn't even need to hear the rest of what he said, and I already know what his argument is.
So are we all
yeah.
theists now? Everyone converted?
Yeah, that convinced me.
Hallelujah! I see the light.
Yeah.
So like that whole
Wow.
like, well, where did energy come from? Like like F off, man. Like
Yeah. I do want to say quickly, I apologize, David, if I did get a little bit heated or a little bit rude to Neffy anywhere in there. I do apologize for that.
It's not a problem. I'm wondering if you would be able to. I really wanted to ask Neff if you could actually explain the equation for the first law of thermodynamics. If you could actually go through and actually explain what the equation means.
It doesn't explain the why, though. There's no why in that equation.
Yeah.
I tell you what,
there's a why. I mean,
I tell you what equation he can't explain. The second law.
How y'all distinguish how and why? I'm just wondering how y'all distinguish this.
Well, yeah. To me, like why, in more of a like philosophical sense, is something that is subjective. So asking it, while meaningful, doesn't mean that your particular answer to that is actually an objective feature of reality as it is.
Yeah, it seems to me in the context of like scientific inquiry, when you're asking why, what you really mean is how.
Yeah. So if somebody said, why does this... Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. I was just going to say, like, so like when someone says like, why does X happen? Well, because of this law, like that what they mean is how. We have no right to expect a why from the universe.
Mm-hmm.
By what justification is there even a why?
Yeah. If somebody asks, why is the sun shining? I would answer that with explaining how photons are created in the nuclear processes occurring in the sun's core that give the electromagnetic radiation that's created that it gives off that our eyes pick up. That's what I would assume they're meaning. If they're asking what is like some sort of, I guess, esoteric purpose or meaning for this occurrence, generally granted by some otherwise intelligent agent, nature doesn't give us those kinds of answers, like Jordan said. That's something that you can say that you think for yourself, but reality isn't going to tell us anything like that. That's us, not reality.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that idea. I mean, if you were to tell me why a ball rolls down a hill, you could say gravity, you could say the slope of the hill, you could say overcoming friction, you could say all these physical forces, but is that why it really rolls down the hill? Well,
yes.
I don't know. What the fuck does why mean?
Yeah.
Really quickly, I think Danny might understand this language better because I know that he
likes big words.
Particular type of, well, it's not that he likes big word, but he prefers a particular type of, just because.
Yeah, big. Yeah.
Anyway, to me, the why, in the sense that Nephilim meant it, generally implies intention. And I don't think that when it comes to natural processes that there's an intention. So to distinguish between that, to kind of explain what I mean, and bear with me here, give me like maybe 30 seconds. Hopefully I can get it in under. You might walk into the kitchen and see that there's a pot of water boiling on the stove. And let's assume that you're married. you might ask your wife, who's also in the kitchen, well, why is the pot of water boiling, or why is this kettle of water boiling? And she'll say, oh, that's because, and she could go on and describe, all of the processes that are occurring with the heat conduction and everything that's causing the water to gain more energy, which is causing some of the molecules to essentially knock themselves free, given all the energy, which is turning into steam, and the water is boiling. And that would be a fair answer. Or she could say, oh, I'm brewing some tea. Would you like some? But there's an intention in the second one that's not present in the first. So when people ask why, in the sense that Neffy meant it, generally they're meaning something in the first, that there's some sort of intention behind that. And like Jordan, I think, said pretty clearly, that really, he didn't really say it doesn't exist in nature, but that nature doesn't give us those answers. I would say that those things just don't exist in nature.
I've
In
seen
the
no evidence they exist. Yeah.
That must be a colloquial usage, because that's not how philosophers use it. Like, when we ask why, we're just asking for explanation. That's all.
Well, then the explanation would be the natural one.
Yeah.
So to say, well, then what do you mean by why is just, I don't know, an attempt at moving the goalposts, maybe?
I was just thinking, you mean from Neff?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's why I was confused. I guess now that I think about it, like a lot of theists do use why in an intentional sense. But yeah, I mean, like I was writing a paper and I had to.
Can I ask a quick question, Dan?
Yeah.
Do you think of reasons as being purely intentional?
Yeah, well, yes. But
Okay.
at least in philosophy, otherwise you're giving. No, but like sometimes colloquially we'll say, well, what's the reason why water boiled at this temperature despite the pressure? Then that's just a total equivocation.
Yeah, but in the philosophical sense, you would take a reason as being inherently intentional.
Yeah, if anyone starts talking about reasons, they're talking about, well, okay, it's controversial, but there's external and internal reasons, and there's a debate about that.
Yeah.
But we're talking about something normative when we're saying reasons usually.
Mm-hmm. So I think what Neffy was referring to was something like that, whereas I would argue that reasons can be are contained within explanations, but not all explanations are reasons, if you know what I mean. And that Neffy was looking for that reason, whereas there might not be one, just an explanation. Broadly, that's not a reason.
Yeah, I think maybe the technical definition for reason in philosophy is something like that, which can explain action. Mm-hmm. So even like there's like non-motivating reasons. Like for Kant, he thought that like things like the categorical imperative was like it was like part of pure reason, which is like this sense of external reason that didn't require motivation, but nonetheless could explain action.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Anything to say?
Yeah.
How's it going, Top Dog?
Hey, Top Dog, welcome.
Hey. Hey.
Hello.
Like my mind went completely blank when I got on here.
Yep.
Yeah. I will say it was really cool of Neff to throw that debate that we just did over to me, because originally he was in the loop there. Usually I have to trick people into talking to me about radiation, so to get like a whole like 2-hour block of nothing but that was pretty awesome.
Yep. Because I know Neff wanted to avoid it really badly in your debate with him. He did not even want to deal with the opera thing.
No, his response was, well, we're not going to have a whole debate on it. I was like, why not?
Isn't that what we're here for?
Yeah.
Yep.
Neffy doesn't really debate. He just kind of bloviates about things and about how wrong you are without ever actually substantively responding to anything that you said.
Instead, he wanted to lecture me, a mechanical engineer, about how the second law of thermodynamics works.
Mm-hmm. Which is... and he'll just keep repeating the same thing over again instead of actually explaining anything.
Yeah.
That's Neffy. Yeah, I've known Neffy for a while, since at least 2015, because he's on Pal Talk. I don't think he goes there anymore, but he used to frequently. It's also how I knew Darth Dawkins.
Interesting.
I was on Evolution Pulse.
Yeah, I was on Pal Talk for a while back in the day. I remember Nephilim 3 from like 13, 15 years ago, back when Potholder 54 was doing the Crocoduck Awards, the Golden Crocoduck Awards. if you remember any of that. I think Nephilim 3 won the Golden Product Award one year. Can't remember when or for what claim, but that was good fun.
Those were actually pretty fun.
Yeah, Potholer is fantastic.
Yeah, I love Potholer. He is probably my favorite YouTuber.
Yeah, I like him because he's always very careful to cite all of his sources, you know?
Yeah.
So it's very easy to check up, make sure he's on the level.
Yep.
I have to say, I thought when I was doing the math for this thing, I was really surprised because SFT, whenever the heat problem comes up, it's always like, oh, hypercanes, you know, it's like its favorite thing. And I was thinking conceptually, I was like, man, how am I going to do the heat transfer for a hurricane? Like, that is a really complex system. I was surprised at how easy the calculation was. Because, you know, if you just abstract it all the way out, it's just the latent heat of condensation. It took me like 30 minutes to do the whole thing. Like it was super easy. And the fact that no one on his channel has ever done that. Like,
I know I had a little bit of a mini discussion with him on the heat problem a couple weeks ago. And as always, Standing for Truth never showed his math. I asked him for math, but he never showed it.
And it's easy math. Like, this isn't calculus or anything. This is just straight algebra. You just multiply 4 things together. It's like stupid easy.
Was there a debate tonight someplace?
Modern Day Debate there's a debate over on Modern Day Debate, I think.
Oh, well, because you had the word after show in your title.
Jordan. It was Jordan. Jordan was debating Professor McQueen on the accelerated nuclear decay, and this is the after show for that.
Okay. I'm assuming that was on Strangling the Truth's channel?
Yep. Hold on, Erica, get on in the chat. He was calling you out. So Guts again, Erica. He gave you a little bit of a call out in the opening
speech. Are you able to have more than 6 people?
I can have up to 10.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
So I have plenty of space. Plenty of room. Come on in. The water's fine.
Yeah. So it was the accelerated nuclear decay debate, and most of my opening was on the heat problem and the associated radiation problem. How Noah would have died from his bananas in 10 minutes. And also, the Earth would be plasma.
Yep. Is McQueen is he a geologist or what? Yeah. What is he?
He has a master's in geology from somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Professor David McQueen, ICR. I'm just gonna look him up real quick just to see.
Yeah. If I recall correctly, he got his master's and then was refused his doctorate because of his creationist leanings. I don't know the whole story, but I feel like he wanted to do some creationist research, and the doctor was like, maybe you should do something like legitimate. And they, but in terms of like his master's, it's completely legit. He definitely has an actual legit bachelor's and master's degree in geology, for sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to take off, guys. Speed of Sound is live with Immutable. We're talking about scientism, and I did say that I was gonna be there. I just didn't know when they were gonna go live, and I think they went live a little bit after 8, so I'm gonna head over that way. Thanks for having me on. That was a fun exchange with Nephilim, who knows fuck all about science as usual.
He's an expert in everything, man.
Oh yeah. If you don't know anything, just go to Nephilim Free about anything.
Yeah, Nephilim 3 and Mr. Batman.
Don't forget Darth Dawkins. He's up there too. Fucking genius, I'll tell you what. Alrighty, guys, I'm taking off. Much love to all of you. Be well.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
All right. So one of the things that I was surprised about with the hurricane calculation is the 1.5 centimeters, I think, of water per day. I'm not quite sure how they actually get 1.5 centimeters, because it seems like it's a much more than 1.5 centimeters.
Yeah, I don't know. I trusted that the National Oceanic Administration knew what they were talking about. That it would what they said was the typical hurricane delivers 1.5 centimeters worth of rain per day over its area. So I based my calculations. I gave it 50. I gave the hypercanes 50 times that, which is 5 times more than creationists give them. And then for anyone who didn't watch, I gave it, so we had 50 times strength mega hurricanes. They covered the entire surface of the Earth, and they went for the entire flood year, from day 1 all the way to day 365. And all of that got them 0.02% heat reduction.
Yeah.
So not a lot.
Yeah. And of course, there's a reason why creationists simply do not show their math or even try it. I think my favorite argument is the expansion of the universe argument that, okay, the universe expanded, therefore that cooled the water down and all that bullshit.
Which, like, I've read it, and it just doesn't make any sense. Like, it's like they take, like, okay, well, when things expand, they get cooler, right? Because ideal gas law, and the universe expands. If we put these together, come on.
Yep.
They don't have anything, but I guarantee you, in 2 weeks, I'll hear SFT talking about hypercanes again. Like,
yeah, and he's never gonna show math and show how it works and all that, and even try and respond to the stuff that you actually argued.
That math is so simple. It's so easy. Like, my 5th grader could do this math.
Yeah, just multiply a bunch of numbers together, and that's it.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, like, there's more to it if you want to get into the nitty gritty, but like, all it is condensing water, And another thing is the heat goes from the top of the hurricane, which is still in the atmosphere. So this heat it wouldn't like get rid of it. It would still be in the system, but what's a 10 to the 30th joules between friends,
Exactly. I'm just kind of curious. How much rainfall would the hurricanes need
in order to dissipate the heat?
Yeah, like how much rainfall would actually be needed just to be able to, just hurricanes alone, hypercanes, to be able to dissipate that much heat? I'm just curious how much it would have to be per day.
Hold on, I can tell you. Now, this is going to be assuming that they were covering the entire Earth, which is, of course, ridiculous, and that they were going for the entire flood year.
Yeah.
That's more than 1,000. More than 10. Okay, hold on. I'm almost there. Okay, so they would need to deliver centimeters, so 180 meters of waterfall every day.
So 180 meters of waterfall, just to be able to dissipate enough all that heat to be sufficient to take care of the accelerated nuclear decay.
Yeah, in order to take care of just the nuclear decay, not the whole like smashing plates together stuff, but just the accelerated decay from uranium, thorium, and potassium, it would take 180 meters of rainfall every day over the entire surface of the Earth all year.
Yeah. Which, of course, is a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, it's absurd. And of course, that it's debatable whether, because you're going to have a gradient of heat, you're reducing all the heat up here, but you're never going to, like, I don't know, to do like a real in-depth heat transfer analysis would require a lot more work. But if you got to 180 meters a day, you'd at least have a shot.
Yeah.
Which, again, is like so. It is orders of magnitude more than any storm ever.
Yeah. And you would probably need every single drop of water in the entire planet just to be able to make enough for that rain to be sustained. So,
okay, so the total mass would be, let me divide that by 1,000. It would be 9.17
Oh,
times
sorry.
10 to the 19 kilograms of water fall. You're a baby.
Yeah, I real quick had a question I wanted to ask you about this water dissipating heat thing. Your understanding of this concept, the water, I'm assuming, vaporizes, which is what carries the heat away, right?
Yeah, the opposite, but yeah, like
Yeah,
the
well,
water.
You follow. So, and that heat somehow in the water vapor escapes the atmosphere, right? Is the idea?
We're not going to worry about that part, but yeah.
Well, because if it doesn't escape, then you have water vapor, but you still need more water to make up for the water you vaporized. So you have to like, how many times do you have to flood the earth in order to account for the heat?
A lot. So basically, the water vapor is sucked up from the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Into the clouds. It condenses. The heat is rejected. In reality, that heat is rejected back into the atmosphere. It doesn't just go away. But in this creationist fantasy land,
it did go away.
Let's say it did go away. Right. It
then
does.
How many times how much water do you need on top of the mile above the tallest? Because you're going to evaporate a lot of water in all this heat, right?
Yeah. Now, to be fair, it's recycling, right? Because it drops, then it can come back up as vapor, so it's a water cycle. But the amount of water they'd have to put out every day, that comes out to 9.17 times 10 to the 19 kilograms of water. And I'm trying to figure out how much water is in all of the earth. Like, I'm expecting it to be, I think that is more than the volume of the oceans every day, but I could be wrong. I haven't done that math yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big number.
If it's not all of it, it is an appreciable fraction of it.
Yep.
Yeah, we're not talking puddles here.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'll catch y'all later. Thanks for having me, David.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for stopping by, Danny. You're always welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I would have more questions for you, Jordan, but it seems like you covered the topic so well, I don't know what to say.
Yep.
Yeah, and then basically his answer for the heat problem was just, well, we do have gods, so magic.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Which I've said in the past many times, like if you have a magic space wizard, just use him, man. He's right there. Just go commit the body.
Yep. Exactly. Hi, and I love his attempted answer at Aklo saying, well, Aklo isn't really happening, and that there's no real... I think he was actually seriously arguing that Aklo isn't actually a nuclear reactor.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I think I was really dumbfounded by Professor McQueen's response to the Aklo.
Oh, yeah. He basically tried to say that it wasn't actually a nuclear reactor. He did it by first saying that boron is a thing that exists, and therefore no nuclear fission, which is just not how no. It would make, depending on how much boron there was, it would make nuclear fission harder. That's why we have control rods, and we have boron in the water in a nuclear reactor to absorb neutrons and control reactivity. So it is a neutron poison that makes it more difficult to go critical. But that would just make things worse. Like the entire calculation is based on having 3% enriched uranium. Well, if you're assuming borated water, well, now we need 5% enriched uranium. That's even worse. Now we have 4 billion years worth of decay that we have to keep track of.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just out of curiosity. If we were to try and squeeze up, let's just be super generous to the young Earth creationists and squeeze all that billions of years of accelerated nuclear decay into the past 6,000 years, I wonder what the temperature and the actual heat issue would be if you try and squeeze it into just a whole 6,000 year period.
I think if you dissipated the whole accelerated decay over the 6,000 years.
Yeah, or just try and accelerate it.
Well, he said over 1,000 years, so he just right. So, oh shoot. So the amount of temperature then that you'd have to dissipate would be 4 orders of magnitude less. So you've got that going for you. So your wall-to-wall hypercanes would get rid of 20% of the heat. Which is, hey, that's progress. If you give me a minute, I can do the calculations. But it wouldn't solve the problem. You'd still be at temperatures greater than the surface of the sun. And the thing, like I mentioned to McQueen during the debate, was like, well, now that you've given up all of your methods to get rid of the heat, they all depended on the flood happening. You think that you would think that if there were freaking mega hypercanes happening over the entire surface of the Earth for 1,000 years, they might have written it down somewhere.
Yeah.
Someone would have noticed.
Yeah, I think it's important to try and be as generous as possible to their models. So, Top Dog, any thoughts?
Don't see any reason to care about why or what they say because they're not scientists. The creationists, I mean.
Yep. And that's why
There's
they're
no validity. Yeah.
right, and that's why they're publishing in their own in-house journals instead of actually publishing in real scientific journals.
Because they have a bad way of thinking about reality. We have to give them any kind of credence. Kind of weird.
Well,
I'm wondering.
I mean, at the end of the day, the reason I engage them at all is because I used to be a young Earth creationist back once upon a time, and I was shown the error of my ways by someone handed me a book, and I read it, and it turns out I was super wrong. So it would have been really helpful if someone had done what I just did, for me. So
yeah, just curious. What book was that?
it was The Language of God by Francis Collins.
Interesting. Yeah, I like Francis Collins a lot.
Yeah.
What I did is I think I watched a lot of actual science, what's actually happening in the real world and stuff, so I can get actual data from what's actually there instead of people just saying things or it's something that's written down. Could they actually see the thing in real life here now? So
Yep. Yeah, okay.
I have. Oh yeah, he left. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Y'all need to come in the chat. We need to liven up the party.
I mean, we can talk about nuclear reactors all day, baby.
Yep, gotta love them.
I watched Nova episodes, and they're still making them.
Yep.
Season 48.
Yep. Yeah. Chris. Yeah, McQueen pointed out that there was 1,000 years between creation and the flood. So I guess that's where you got the 1,000 years from. Accelerating nuclear decay. So I'm just
guys. No. Have you ever seen? Oh, sorry.
You finish.
Oh, have you ever seen Through the Wormhole?
No, I haven't.
That has a lot of like philosophy, but mixed in with real science. So,
yeah.
Well,
so what were you gonna say? Yeah.
I've been on some form of chat for the last 3.5 hours, so I'm gonna go collapse.
Real quick, before you go, Christopher asked Jordan if you accounted for the latent heat from the rainfall.
No, so there's definitely more you could account that would probably shift it away from creationism. So like, when the rainfall's dropping, that's not heat neutral and stuff like that. But just to simplify it to the greatest extent possible in a steelman creationism, I just said, okay, well, there's water vapor has to turn into liquid, That's the weight and heat of condensation, and that's also the calculation that the NOAA did, and that they presumably know what they're talking about. It's a real rough calculation. I wouldn't like stake my soul on its accuracy to more than an order of magnitude, but that's all you really need.
Yep.
Like if your calculation within an order of magnitude tells you the Earth would be a ball of fusion, like why go any further?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, if my model says, okay, my model has the Earth being vaporized, probably a problem with my model. Perhaps,
right,
what they should be doing is saying, okay, there's obviously a heat problem with my model, and we obviously have this evidence of halos and stuff like that. Maybe, just maybe, the halos are not due to accelerated nuclear decay. Perhaps there is a better alternative explanation for these polonium halos and fission drags and stuff like that they bring up.
Is there an alternative explanation that doesn't vaporize the Earth? Oh, wow, there is. Well, let's go with that then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to get going.
All right. Thank you so much, Jordan, for stopping by. It's always a great pleasure.
See ya.
Yep, see ya.
All right. Anyone else want to come in? I'll probably give it a couple more minutes. See anyone. We have 10 people watching still. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're not already. Yeah, so I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes for people to stop on in. And if no one stops in, I'll probably just shut down the stream and call it a night.
So, have you seen the original Cosmos with Carl Sagan?
No, but I did see the a little bit of the one from Neil deGrasse Tyson.
He doesn't seem like he did as good a job as Carl Sagan for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch the Carl Sagan one. But,
The episodes are free on YouTube.
yep. I'll definitely have to get it a watch.
I have on my site the playlist or my forum on the Speed of Sound site.
All right. Let's see here. Let's see here. What else is going on tonight? It was Speed of Sound site, Science and Naturalism. I'll probably put that in the chat. All right.
And there's a YouTuber that does music from science. People talking about science and they make it music.
Yep.
All collaboration. Called Melody Sheep is the channel. And the playlist is Symphony of Science.
All right. Interesting.
It's also on my forum.
All right. That sounds cool. Well, I think I am starting to get a little bit tired, so I'm going to start shutting everything down. Do you have any last words that you want to say before we shut down?
Stay curious.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for stopping by. I will see you guys next time. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Have a great day. We are out.